Hey, I'm Porscha Amest here with Billie Slum, wonderful artist, local artist that you will hear, up and coming artist that is amazing in this area, and you'll hear of him a lot more. We wanted to kind of take an in-depth look today and just kind of talk with him about his journey through the creation and the production of his most recent project, his most recent creation, his album BLAQ SHEEP. So Billie Slum, before we get started today, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm an independent artist, born and raised in Macon, Georgia. I've had some milestones along the journey, but mainly been underground. Had a, I guess you could say, a record label situation at one point, involving another major label artist. And there was another situation involving another artist that didn't necessarily pan out. So I've been just doing my thing.
So sounds like you've been in this for a long time. Sounds like you've had some obstacles or some challenges to come along the way. And so it seems fitting for you to have this particular album named BLAQ SHEEP.
Yep.
And so I want to kind of dive in. For those of you who don't know, this is my blood brother sitting next to me. And so I listen to all his music. I'm going to support it regardless. But I also give you real feedback.
You do.
Like, it's going to be raw and uncut. I'm going to say, nope, I don't like it. Something is missing. But I also listen to the music that he puts out. But this is the first time I've actually listened to every single song in depth to kind of gain an understanding of maybe your perspective. So I want to see if what kind of I took from it is what you also give in your perspective. Okay. So I want to try to see if I can walk through just a few of the songs. I was feeling the album. You know, real feeling the album. So let's start with the actual. The title of the album itself, BLAQ SHEEP, which is actually your first song on the album BLAQ SHEEP. So you mentioned that you put your heart into your lyrics, so there's never a question about how you feel. How important is authenticity in your music, and do you ever feel pressure to censor or alter your message?
I don't necessarily say it's important to be authentic, because there's a lot of people who pop in that's not necessarily authentic, but for me, it just, I don't know, it's just who I am. It ain't nothing I'm trying to do or trying to be. It's just like when I put, like pen to paper or fingertip to phone or whatever you want to call it. It just, that's what pours out of me, my actual life experiences. I absorb everything around me and just.
So no censor, no filter, just put it out there.
On certain, as of late, I've been kind of mindful not to. I guess if you ask me about it, one particular song, we can go in depth about it.
Okay. So I like that the authenticity piece, and how you mentioned that there's some artists who are out now and they, really aren't authentic. I think that that's major to mention, because in a world where social media guides our society, that's important to mention, because so many people are trying to be like these artists, or I want to have what they have and the things that they sing about, when a lot of times behind those microphones they don't even have those things, or there's something missing within them. Even though they're singing about all this happiness, they're missing something within them. So it's interesting that we're in that mental health awareness month, and so it's coming to that point where people aren't really realizing, even though this is what's coming out of their mouths and it's coming through the microphone, that may not be authentically who they are. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. What's your take on that?
I don't know. People do what they have to do to feed their families, or sell records. It may be a record label pressuring them to go in a certain direction or a certain lane. With what I love about what I do, when I wake up in the morning, whatever I feel like saying, doing. If I feel like singing, I'm gonna sing. If I feel like I want to do a country song, I'm gonna do that. If I feel like I want to do gospel, I'm gonna do that.
Beyonce, Marvin Sapp.
Yeah, what you say?
Okay.
I just do whatever. When I wake up, and if it's on my chest, if it's on my heart, if the Most High put it on my spirit, that's what I create. So.
Okay, that's real. All right, and so in this song also, you say your purpose is to benedict others. What message do you hope to leave with your listeners, and how do you want your music to impact the world?
What message I hope to leave? It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to not have it together all the time. But whatever you're going through, you still can turn it around. What I want to leave with the world, just good music, timeless music. That's always been my goal since I jumped off the porch as a kid. Just making timeless art. I am art. That's a huge part of my DNA ever since far back as I can remember. Even
I remember drawing everything for you.
Yeah,
art.
if people don't know that, I can draw.
Yeah.
I break danced. I made beats. I stopped doing that, but just anything involved in the arts that's always been in my DNA.
I think that's good too, because connecting specifically BLAQ SHEEP, and I spent a little bit of time there because that is the name of the actual album.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's important too for people to understand. We've heard the terminology or the phrase BLAQ SHEEP for so long, and we look at it as a negative. I always look at it as a negative, the one that stands out, right? But oftentimes the one that stands out is the one that people pay the most attention to, because it's, why are you over there by yourself? And then people want to try to what's the word that they use today? They don't say hate no more. I don't even know what they say. I don't say hating, you hating, you jacking, so whatever they saying. I don't know those latest terminology. I need to talk to the children. But they start to say those things to bring you down, which then goes back to that authenticity. Are they really being themselves as well? Are you trying to fit in instead of actually trying to step outside of the box? And be who you actually are? So I find it interesting that your first song was BLAQ SHEEP, the title of the album is BLAQ SHEEP, and then the actual art on the cover, shout out to who did the art for that?
RP, my brother.
That album cover actually shows the BLAQ SHEEP, but it also draws attention to that particular sheep on that album cover. So just rest in peace, but shout out to that.
My God.
Alright, your second song on the album, On My Grind. Your lyrics emphasize authenticity. Back that again. Curated from the soil, no gimmicks. How do you stay real in an industry that sometimes values trends over substance?
I decided a long time ago that I would not compromise my art and who I am for fame. I had a meeting. This is a long time ago. I don't want to date myself and show my age, but it was a long time ago. I had to meet with his A&R. I won't say his name, but he was with a major record label. And he was like, man, I like your stuff, man. And shout out to my dog P.X. because he's the one who drove me on the road to meet this guy. He had a plug, they had a plug, so we ended up meeting with this guy. He was actually working on Sierra's debut album. So, I'm geeked. I'm going in the studio and I'm seeing all these, plaques and stuff, and we sitting down and he listening to my stuff and he's like, yeah, man, you got that kind of like an Outkast type of vibe. I like your stuff, man, but this is what's popping now. And he turned around and he played Do It Like Me, Baby. And we love that song. We party to it, but that's not who I am as an artist. So I was like, I heard him out. Like, man, this gonna get you on the radio. This gonna get you blah blah blah. And I heard him out, and I was like, yeah, but I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror look at my people if I come out and this is what I'm doing. People gonna be looking at me, what? So I just decided that even at that young age that I wasn't gonna ever compromise my art. Some people might say that's stupid, man. That was your opportunity to get on. You know what I mean? But it wasn't worth it to me.
Yeah, it's not always about especially like you said, compromising who you are. I think that when we look back, me personally knowing you, I remember the days you being in your room, the doors are closed, and mama fussing, turn that music down. But I can recall my days of growing up. I wouldn't have known about the artists in our day, you said you don't want to date yourself. I wouldn't have known about them had I not heard your music, right? And even with those artists, and I can say Warren G. Warren G is one that I listen to all the time. And so I think that listening to them and listening to how they didn't compromise themselves. You think about people, even people like Outkast, they are authentically who they are. They didn't compromise themselves, and they are still who they are. And you play their music now, even to this generation, and people are still like ready to ride to it, you know? There's a lot of TikTok reels that are coming up with the older music because those people were really true and genuine to who they are. So I find it great that you are just kind of looking at, I'm going to stay true to who I am. I'm not going to compromise who I am for nobody because this is my craft and my art, and this is what I want to present to the world.
I also understood from that day that it would take me, it would take longer for me to get where I needed to go, and I just accepted that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. All right. So, Still Choose You, number 3. The lyrics paint vivid scenes from different time periods. What inspired you to explore themes of past lives and reincarnation in this song?
So number one, shout out to my homegirl Brown Jewel up in Brooklyn, New York. She made that beat, and when she gave me the beat, she was like, "Man, you wrote something to it yet? You wrote something to it yet?" And she was like super geek, and I was like, "No, I like the beat, but I don't know what to put to it." So I had like another concept that I actually started recording, but then I scrapped it. And then shout out to my brother Goodrich. He said, "Man, why don't you do something like, you meet this girl," like he referenced the movie, like I think what is it, 91st Dates or something like that. 91st Dates or something. It's some movie like that where they kept
going on the same day over and over again.
Yeah. So I just took it a step further because I've always been a vivid dreamer, and I do believe in reincarnation. I've had, this might be too deep for the camera, but I've had supernatural encounters even in my childhood, and I've always had these reoccurring dreams about certain things that God has yet to bring to pass in my life, but it's always been a reoccurring dream. It'd be different scenarios, but I'm doing the same thing in each dream. And I just took it and put it in the song format, that's all.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
You also reference specific locations like Lenox and the 130 Knife. Are these places significant to you personally?
No, I never even been to New York.
Wow. And so you were able to just paint this vivid image, like, you know, I'm in education and we teach children to use their imagination and use adjectives. We want you to give us descriptive, you know, words, and you took this song and just made us feel like we were actually there. Like it was almost like a movie.
I think that's one of my strong points as a, I guess, rapper, is my storytelling ability. Most of my stories are actual stories that happen in my life, but that one, I just use my imagination a little bit. Even like as a kid, you know, I started out writing poetry. My teachers would always say, "You have such a vivid imagination. How do you put these things together?" So I just kind of tapped back into that and just let the spirit use you. That's what they say, right?
And it's interesting because this one of the questions I have here. The lyrics have a storytelling quality that feels poetic. Do you see yourself more as a rapper, a poet, or historian in this particular track?
I would say all of the above.
All of the above. Okay. I can see how they can be kind of meshed together. All right.
Just using. I got my man Liam Nielsen say on the movie. I have a certain set of skills, a specific skill set. I will find you. Yeah. So that's what I do.
All right. So the closing lines are deeply emotional. Okay. It's almost like the song takes a shift, right? If I meet you next lifetime, just know I still choose you. What do those words mean to you personally?
If you meet that person, so basically that's the song in a nutshell. This person, like I guess your soulmate. If you meet that one person in life that you know is your person, no matter what happens. Let's say certain circumstances take that person out of your life. If I meet you next lifetime, I know somehow, some way, fate is gonna bring us together again, and I'm still choose you.
I like that. All right. Only life I know. We getting out to my favorite. We getting closer to my favorite track.
Good.
Only life I know.
Yeah.
All right. The line, "This being dead broke is a hard pill to swallow," feels deeply personal. Can you share a moment in your life that shaped this perspective?
No, that song is my actual life.
Wow.
Being up, losing it, grinding, get it back again, lose it. Not because I'm being careless, but because I'm invested into a dream and a vision that nobody can see with me.
Mm-hmm.
So that affects me. That affects everybody around me. So besides investing into my family, I'm trying to invest into this thing that I love. You know, and it's just me. Never had no team. Never had no investors. No nothing like that. So it's just always been me. So.
Do you think that's more prominent in the African American culture? Because we often see in other cultures, their people help them, right? Mm-hmm. We think about even Mexicans, we talk about them, but they ride down the road, about 50 of them get out the car, right? But you know that they're supporting each other. They're living in one home because they're trying to help each other build whatever life it is that they want. So do you think that it's more, prominent in our culture that we don't know how to come together to actually help each other to get to where they need to get to? Or is it like that we said it's a competition? You can't get there before me. How do you see that?
I think it's a little bit of that, and I think it's our family comes from humble beginnings. Mm-hmm. We had nothing, so there was nothing for somebody to help us with. You know what I mean? And shout out to my Hispanic people, because in my 9-to-5 life, just today. I had a group of them come in and they want something, and you tell them it costs whatever. It might be $1,200-$1,300. They could turn around and they had their little meeting of the mind. That's what they do. I'm just watching this, and people laugh at it, but I'm looking at it.
Yes.
They turn around and had their little meeting of the mind, and they turn around and say, yeah, go ahead. And then all of them pull out and they cash out and get whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, why can't we do that?
Yeah.
So, we laugh and we joke about certain stuff, and life has its comical moments, but it's real.
Yeah.
And they look out for each other, so that none of them never lack. You notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might joke about them, living 52 a house, but they make sure everyone is set up. And then once they get up to a certain point, they go get another house, and they bring more of their people.
Yep.
And they get them set up, and it's a ripple effect. So they hear everywhere. They taking over everything because they know how to set themselves up right. And we were not taught that. We were just tossed out.
Yeah.
I can go on a rant, but I'm sure.
I get it. Okay. All right, so this part, lost it all and bounce right back, suggests resilience.
Yeah.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned from setbacks in your journey?
It's all a part of propelling me to my purpose.
Do you feel like that growth came also emotionally?
Yeah, for sure. I was just talking to them the other day, and just talking about how literally ain't supposed to be here. Just backtracking, like everybody told mom to have an abortion because of the circumstances of how it came about. Obviously, having an abortion, you too young, you got your whole life ahead of you. You don't need no child. You need to finish school and go on. I think mama wanted to do. She told me what she wanted to initially do, and it slipped my mind. But yeah, she had so many aspirations of things she wanted to do. She had to stop her life at a young age to have a kid, and she chose to do it. She said, "No, I'm not aborting my baby." So that I ain't supposed to be here. I was telling them maybe 3 or 4, and me and Grandma was home one night, and she had broken up with her boyfriend, Mr. Billy, that he's since passed on. So I ain't snitching on nobody, But he was one of them type, hey, if I can't have you, can't nobody have you. And he came and, basically shot up the apartment in Bird City. And I just, again, I ain't supposed to be here. Me and her, he knew I was there. Bullet could have took me out. We sitting there watching TV. I'll never forget. We was watching, I think it was in the heat of the night. And I didn't know what was going on. I just remember loud noises, and I remember Mama getting tense. And I knew something wrong. I didn't know what was going on. I was too young to know what was going on. Mama, years later, she was like, "How do you remember that?" I remember that. Yeah. You know, the night it happened. I remember that. So that, I ain't supposed to be here. A couple years later, it may have been, I think, like 8 or 9. And Mama can verify this. I got hit with this debilitating, like, condition.
I couldn't walk.
Yeah, I couldn't walk. So I'm just, it's almost like, I don't know, like polio or something. I don't know. And the doctors could not figure out what was going on with me. And I had this whatever it was, however long I could not walk. I couldn't do nothing for myself. I ain't supposed to be here. And I go on and on and on about so many things that have happened to me over the course of my life where I'm not supposed to be here. And people don't know that story, those stories. So I think it's, you know, it attributes to my growth because I know there's a higher calling, a higher purpose for me. So I've had to grow emotionally. I've had to go through the most, you know. I feel like I've been through the most of my life on all fronts. And it's forced me to grow. And that's a long answer, but, you know.
I get it. I get what you're saying. I like to hear, well, back up. We've heard so long people say, God will never put more on you than you can bear. But the truth is, God will, because otherwise there would not be a Most High. Because then what do we need Him for if we can really bear it? So I, you know, love the fact that you attribute that.
There's so many stories I can. We ain't got time, man. Like, so, and people can verify these stories. I ain't just making it up.
Okay.
Near-death experiences.
All right, so we're looking at mule, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love this one too, because we always hear it's the goat, right? So the one question I have in this song is, they tell me all they take is the faith. All it takes is the faith of a mustard seed. Is that what the lyrics say? Tell me the lyrics. Okay. How does faith, both in yourself and in your vision, influence your journey as an artist?
I could not of my own doing come up with the things that I say or the things that I write. It comes from somewhere. It ain't coming from me. That's the best way I can put it. And shout out to Rod again, because that was his concept that I took. He called me and said, "Bro, I got this beat for you." Got it. And keep in mind you, this man is sick with cancer. Know that he's dying, not telling anybody. He told me toward the end. And he just working and sending me beats. But he called me for this one. Bro, I got this concept. I know you don't like nobody giving you concepts, but you got to do this one. It's called Mute. And I'm gonna give you the backstory. So he was arguing. Shout out Kawasi. Him and Kawasi had these basketball arguments about who's the GOAT. And he said such and such. If such and such the GOAT, then such and such got to be the Mule, the most underrated legend ever. So that's all Rod. I said, you know what? I dig that, bro. I'm actually gonna use that concept. He said, yeah, bro, you got to. I said, okay, I'm gonna use your concept this time. And so I chewed on it for a minute, and then I just wrote what I wrote. It's most underrated legend ever, because I feel like I have been. I mean, even though the name of the song is Mule, it goes back to being the black sheep. I have been overlooked. I have accomplished a lot in my area, not just trying to make it a local thing, but just being an independent artist. I feel like I have done a lot, and people go out of their way to discredit me or say you're not good at such and such, or you're not doing what such and such doing. But then I turn around, I see so much of what I do in other people's, whatever. You know, and for so long I've been like super humble about it, and I never spoke
Yeah.
on it. But you know, that was the perfect opportunity for me to just pop it. That's all.
You know, our goes back to our culture again. Most of the time, our culture doesn't want to show support unless they feel like, oh, you've arrived, right? They don't know you. They don't want to support you as long as you're locally famed. But as soon as you are the next T.I., you know, as soon as you are the next Lil Wayne, because I don't care how old you get, these are going to be names that you can mention and people are going to know them, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you get that point, oh yeah, they from my hood. I know them. They used to live right down the street from me. They such a no. You know, you didn't know me then.
I don't even subscribe to the word local.
But you get what I'm saying. Like, it's just
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
people don't want to connect themselves to any part of you until you've reached their standards.
Yeah.
And so when you stick with what you say, this is what I'm going to do, this is who I am, and when you finally get to where you see that vision being, then those same people have to deal with their then growth, if they have that growth of, man.
So
you know?
I had this conversation with Goody. Like, man, what really is success? You know, success can be different for you than what it is for me. You know, as long as I got a roof over my head and some food in the fridge and I can take care of my kid, I'm successful. When it comes to music, people feel like, oh, you got to be doing arenas, you got to be doing. And I'm not saying that that's not in the cards for me, but for right now, I feel like I'm successful because I wake up and I do what I want to do, when I want to do it, put it out on my own free will. Ain't nobody telling me you can't drop this yet. You know, I just do what I want to. To me, that's success.
Yeah.
And I do know that it's gonna garner a greater return in the long run.
So many people define the success by finances.
Yeah.
Instead of defining success as what it actually is, right?
Yeah.
Let me look at how many times I fall and get back up. Let me look at how I actually fall. And what do I do with that failure in that moment? So it just, like you said, it's perspective. It depends on your perspective.
Yeah.
All right, so let's shift into home. Let's shift into home. I like this one. And I feel like I like this one because I know you my brother. I know you. So in this song, you mentioned being with some dogs who helped you through some times, right? Some tough times. How does collaboration or the support from those close to you influence your creative process? And you've spoken on a lot of this.
What I said?
Okay.
Bring it back to the memory.
Let me see if I kept the actual. You just mentioned being with some of your, it's like pretty much some of your homies, some of your dogs. They've given so much to you, like influenced you on a lot of your things. So they helped you through some tough times. You've been helped through some tough times.
We're talking about the right song now.
Yeah. Reiterate the desire for this person. So you talk about the desire for this person to return, emphasizing wanting them back home, and the importance of their presence.
Yeah.
Reflecting on thoughts and feelings, repeating the desire for the person to reach out, come back. Where'd you come at?
Gotcha. Oh, okay. So shout out to Bob Lennon.
Yeah.
Bob Lennon is featured on that song, and we had we had Ben said we was gonna put something together, and shout out to Black Male. Black Male produced that, so he had the beat playing when we walked in the studio, and Bob was so this that's all his concept. He was like, man, I ain't trying to take you to a toxic place, man, but it's just kind of how I'm feeling right now. And what I initially want to go with, he told me, hey, Slum, you thinking too deep, man. Let's talk about relationship, man. Like, and so I just had go into his world and tap into, I guess, a vulnerable moment. And hey, when you truly love somebody, you want to try to make it you want it.
Yeah.
You want it to be cohesive and make it work, so it's like, hey, what can we do to figure this out? Come back home. It's not like come back to the house, but let's come back,
It's interesting because even in Bob Lennon's just regular like work, that's kind of where a lot of his music takes you anyway. His style is different. And so
Shout out to the boy.
it's interesting that you would, kind of be able to take on
He was like, yeah, man,
that.
you gonna have to be, yeah, I'll be in my toxic masculinity. These are his
That's
words.
what it is.
He's like, I need you to be vulnerable. I'm like, I'm always vulnerable in my music, but I never anything like directly pertaining to my, I guess, challenges in a relationship. I get, well, yeah, I'll take that back, but never to that degree.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's all that was.
Okay. Coming down to another set of my favorites, because we're coming down to the end of this album. We're at Mercy. Okay, so it's like all closing in for me. Right? You reflect on past actions and seeks mercy for both yourself and your children. Expressing hope that their wrongs don't come back to haunt them. You discuss
my wrongs don't come back.
Yeah. You discuss the difficulty of trusting others due to past experiences of betrayal, and the importance of maintaining balance in life while facing challenges.
Look at you.
You pray for guidance to make better choices, to support your family and avoid negative consequences. And I'm gonna guess this is all coming from like what you've experienced.
Yeah.
You acknowledge your past reckless behavior and the need for forgiveness, recognizing the impact on your children and the importance of being present for them. You also have somewhat of a defensive attitude and isolation that stems from past betrayals. That is clear in this particular song, leading to a realization of the need for change despite a tendency towards solitude. So just kind of standing on your own. And then you mentioned the influence of trauma on your mindset and the struggle for survival, emphasizing the need for divine mercy and understanding in your life journey. With that, I never ran from a challenge. What is it about challenges that fuel you? How do you keep pushing forward in difficult times?
That's a loaded question. just really dumping it on me, man. So if I'm being honest, I feel like that's the real title track to the album, even though it's called Mercy. That's really the definition of the whole BLAQ SHEEP thing. Is that if you go back and listen to that song, it may not be people's favorite song, but I feel like that's my most vulnerable song on that project. I'm just talking about, like everybody have why the people closest to me be the ones who let me down. It just it's a person that I used to be that I'm not anymore. I've done some stuff in my life, and I feel like I need to constantly pray for mercy for that, because they say the sins of the fall, right? You hear that saying, the sins of the fall.
That was a recurring phrase through your the mercy on me.
Please don't let my stuff that I did come back on my kids. I want to rectify it, change myself, change my ways, and hopefully put a better light on them, which I feel like it has in a lot of ways. Yeah. They turn out way better. They're turning out way better than me on so many levels.
Okay. Last question for this one. Meditation and hearing your mother's voice, or our mother's voice, in your reflection suggests that you use mindfulness to process your emotions.
Yeah.
How do you incorporate meditation or other practices into your creative process? And I think this is major to speak to, especially in our African American culture. How do you incorporate meditation or other practices into your creative process?
So let's say you can, if you are still enough in the right time, you will hear God's voice, right? But I think when He speaks to me specifically, in like some moments where I was either about to do something, crash out real bad, or do something that's going to turn the course of my life event, it's always He uses Mama's voice, and I can hear it like plain as day. Like I can be, it's like a soft, subtle voice, but it's her voice every time. So I say, God, use what you recognize the most. So that's God. Even though it's her voice, it's God speaking to you.
Yeah, it's familiar.
Yeah.
That voice is familiar.
Yeah, and sometimes it'll I can hear it. Sometimes it'll wake me up out of my sleep. Sometimes I can just be by myself riding and it'll ain't nobody in the car. Like, real talk, it'd be like weird stuff, and it's her voice that he uses. I don't know if that's he uses that voice because I always humble myself.
Yeah.
Like when she called, even though I love her on the pill, she crazy.
Ooh.
I love her to death. And sometimes we, bump heads. But when she called me, I always humble myself and I listen to her. So I'm assuming that's why he uses that particular voice.
My belief is that God speaks. The voice that we hear is different.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Blue pineapples.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I always hear pineapples and I think safe words. Okay. No, seriously. Okay. So you express confidence and determination. You emphasize a comeback with a strong presence and focus on achieving personal goals.
Mm-hmm.
Your message shifts towards unity and then ambition, urging us as listeners to build wealth and legacy rather than just chasing fame, which you've mentioned previously. The refrain of your song then reiterates that same comeback and special moment, reinforcing that commitment to artistry without compromising your integrity. So it's like the way you started this album is also kind of the way that you're also finishing it. The artist, you critique the current state of the industry. You're contrasting genuine artistry with manufactured sounds, positioning yourself as a serious and skilled contender. Okay. You then conclude by highlighting your resilience and success, signaling a strong return to the music scene. Again, you just mentioned these things and we are just getting here. So with all of that, I want to ask this one question. Time to move smarter. Let's get money and build nations. What does it mean to you to build nations? Is it more about legacy, impact, or something else?
A little bit of all of it. Because we were just talking about like how the Hispanic community, how they come together and they make sure, it's no weak links in the chain. Mm-hmm. They all come together. If they say, hey, Julio wants this particular item, they all gonna band together to get Julio that. Mm-hmm. And then if Fernando wanted another item, they all gonna band together to get Fernando that. And so I feel like we should be able to do that. And I see the Most High moving in this direction with family coming together to make certain things happen. And I feel like this album is prophetic in so many ways because everything I've been speaking about has been coming to fruition. We should be trying to build legacies and build nations. That's what I mean by build nations. Building a strong community. It's also me popping it. I'm not a pop it type of artist, but I just feel like popping. And shout out to the boy Lee because that's what he named the beat. So that's why
you just rolling off the beat names. All right.
Yeah. And I was feeling away at the time. So.
All right. So I got one more question. I lied. Underground like Harriet in the Black on Black Chariot. All right. We hear about Harriet Tubman so much during Black History Month, right? But do people really, really know the depth of Harriet? So this line references Harriet Tubman and evokes a sense of rebellion and resilience. What role do you think your music plays in influencing or educating the culture?
Like I said, I've always been a rebel spirit. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to stand out from you. Ain't got to. Every song that's popping right now. Last song there was another song sound just like that. So how long are we gonna continue to have this assembly line? When is somebody gonna take a chance and say, hey, you know what? This artist is different. This artist is dope. I don't care what's popping on the mainstream right now. Let's take this and put it on the spotlight.
I don't know if you watch American Idol. I haven't watched American Idol for seasons, but this past season I've watched it. And the thing that I've noticed this past season is they have one particular guy in there, and he's straight out the church. I'm talking about he won't do another song other than a church song on the show. And in every theme that they've given from week to week, he's found a gospel song somewhere within there. So he's not compromising who he is and who he really wants the world to see him as for a TV show. Right? He's on this show, but it's still, this is who you're going to get because this is who I am. The last episode, they told him, we would really like to see you step outside of the box to do something different. We love to hear your gospel, but we really want to see you step outside of the box and do something different. His entire face was like saying, this is who I am. Yeah. I mean, you don't say that on the TV to them, but this is who he is, and when you can feel him when he's singing. So when you have somebody who's genuine in their artistry, you can feel their music. You should be able to connect with that music. It shouldn't just make you dance. It should also make you feel something internally and be able to connect with it somewhere. Right?
That's why I fell in love with hip hop. Of course, my first love was the gospel and the blues, because that's what Grandma was playing. My mom was at work, is being heard. I'm soaking about these blues and gospel, so that's the core of who I am. But then when I discovered hip hop, I lost my mind because it made me feel something.
Yeah, you feel something.
And I can see somebody who look like me in a Nas, or I can hear somebody who sounds like me in a Goody Mob or Outkast.
Yeah.
And that opened up my world, and I could feel something. They was talking about stuff that I could relate to. So, and we've gotten now to all the popular music just talking about, I'm a popular, I got a check, and you broke, I'm richer than you, ain't no substance.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make a commitment to my artistry and to people who listen to me to give you something every time I can have the fun joints. We can sing and woo the women. Even in that, just have something with some substance to give you something that you want, something that you can come back to years later and say, you know what, it's still dope.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so we're moving on, and we're at my favorite song from the album, and it's Grapefruit. And I know recently you just did pretty much like an acoustic type version of Grapefruit, and it was pretty much an honor, R.I.P. again, Rod. You did a shout out to him in that, and I had so many people just reaching out to me saying, hey man, I love that version, you might want to think about just recording that version too, because so many people reached out and said, I love just listening to it just in that raw way, so they can really just kind of hear the lyrics of it. And I think that's why it set with me.
For real?
Yes.
That's what's up, man.
So I think that's why it set with me. The song opens with the line, life is like grapefruit. Sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's bitter. What inspired you to compare life to a grapefruit? And what message were you hoping to convey with that analogy? And let me just say, I love grapefruit, okay? I put a little salt on it when I eat it.
Okay.
So it kind of balances, but what
So,
what inspired you?
So again, shout out to my brother Rod Wolf, R.I.P. He named the beat Grapefruit. He didn't give me any context. He just sent, a lot of times he would send me beats and he got a concept with it, and I'd be like, nah, Rod, I ain't gonna do that. He was like, yeah, man. He was very argumentative. Like, man, you need to do this, do that. And I'm like, nah, Rod, I'm gonna do my thing. So we always had these debates about his production. Like, he produced on a lot of my other projects too. But he sent me that one because he know, like, when 9 times out of 10, well, I don't know, I would say it'd be like 60-40. Sometimes he'll give me a concept and I'll run with it. And I'm like, okay, we'll run with it. But this time he just sent me an email. He texted me, check your email. And the name of the beat was Grapefruit. He didn't give me no context. So I just sat there with it. And I think I recorded it maybe like an hour later.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. Alright, I see where you're going with it, and then just listen to the beat and like what he got in it, and I was like, you know what? And at the time, a lot of my songs come from like just me just sitting in deep thought. I might have a conversation with you or a conversation with somebody close to me, and it just turned into a song. But that one, I was just sitting there in my room by myself, and I just listened to the beat and said, you know what? life is like grapefruit. You know, grapefruit is good for releasing toxins out of your body. It has so many benefits, but a lot of people don't like it because it's sometimes it's bitter. But either way, it's good for you as far as like physically, your body and the internal stages of your body. So I just wrote from that perspective. And also, I was going through some, you know, at the time. So
Okay. All right.
I just wrote from that perspective.
So there's a recurring mention of granny moaning them old hymns. Okay. How did your family's or our family's traditions, particularly your grandmother's, influence or shape the themes of the song and your music overall?
Shout out to Granny Liz. She so that's that, you know, I do remember her like moaning old hymns all the time. She actually put me in the choir when I was like maybe 4, Macedonia. She put me in the choir. Had me singing in the choir with her.
You had a robe on? We had a robe?
We had robes.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Shout out to Monica. Monica was our choir director. Light skinned Monica.
Yep, Monica good one.
Monica good. Shout out Monica
good.
So they were my first teachers in helping me find my voice for singing. Like Grandma would, you know, she was help run the bootleg in Bird City, and then turn around and make us go to church. So it was just a lot going on in life, you know. But she always had on record playing, no matter what she did. She had on record playing, so she had a collection of like what they call the little bitty records, or those 45s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she had a collection of those. So it was either.
But hey, Joseph, all right.
I mean, she had a collection of them. She would play. She had some tapes with most of the records, so she would play those. So that was my, I guess, my cultivating of my sound. Because it was a heavy gospel and heavy blues. Her favorite artist was Betty Wright. So you heard a lot of Betty Wright. You hear a lot of Otis Redding, a lot of Wilson Pickett, and then she loved.
Was it some Anita Baker now? Because I feel like Mama took.
That was Mama.
Okay.
Grandma was very old school blues. Like Wilson Pickett, a little phone book, baby. That a lot of Betty Wright. She loved No Pain, No Gain. And so we heard a lot of that, and she loved Georgia Mass Choir with Reverend James Cleveland. So it would be come on, in my room. So that she played that to death. So that was like all these sounds was like cultivating my brain. I'm just sitting there absorbing it, and she kind of started my musical journey. But yeah, so that I would attribute that song to her. Yeah.
Okay. This song also speaks to transforming pain into growth, as in sometimes you got to take a loss in order to be great. Can you share a personal experience where a setback led to a breakthrough for you?
Losing everything I had. Again, just investing into my family. At the same time, trying to invest into a dream is the vision. And when you are a dreamer, you are a creative, you can see things nobody can see. So it's hard for somebody who's not a creative to see the vision that you see. So I audition for movies. I've invested into marketing, promotion, just things that just didn't pan out over and over again. So man, again, most people will say, "Man, why you keep doing it? You need to just get a job."
Yeah.
Which I did. I did both. But it's just when you know something is in you and it won't let you go, you know that's what you're supposed to be doing. So I continuously invested in it till L after L after L until I lost it all. But again, just reverting back to those dreams I had since a child. Like, God, why would you put this in my spirit? And I continuously dream that I'm supposed to be doing this, this, and this, and this. And it's a continuous dream that I've had ever since I was a child. Why would you put this in me for me to just keep taking out these L's? But then, you know, I started growing a little, I guess you would say, following. And to some, it may not mean much, but to me, it means everything because I ain't never had nobody to, you know, helped me cultivate it. So I know it had to be a higher power working to. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been people along the way to say, "Hey, we like what you're doing. Let's partner and do this, that, and third." Never nobody consistent to help me hit the little milestones that I hit. Even with like stuff like the record label situations or RP Gangsta Dre. Gangsta Dre made the Warren G situation happen because he was connected through some people in Cali. We got mutual people, so he made it happen. Just simple things that I've been able to accomplish. It had to be the hand of the Most High working.
I think as faith-based, coming from a faith-based family, and there's a portion in the Bible that says, write the vision, make it plain, so that they can see it, and the vision has been written in your head, and is plain to you because the vision has been given to you. The people who are supposed to be lined up in your life to help will be there. They just may not be the ones that you would think, would be there, right? So everybody you name, shout out to such and such, shout out to such and such. Those are people along the way who has been like a building block to kind of help you get there.
It's almost like it's been angels.
Yeah.
Because everybody who really like helped me in a significant way, they passed on.
Yeah.
They passed on.
But they were in your life for the time that they needed. All right, we're coming down to the last two. Okay. Curtain closer and then benediction. Okay. So in curtain closer, you reflect on your unique style. Talking about how you're often imitated but never replicated. I like that. And you acknowledge your journey of wins and losses. You describe a relaxed vibe while cruising, sipping whiskey and enjoying the weather while remaining cautious about your surroundings. That's always been you though. Like you're always, in that space.
I think you quoted a little bit of good in there.
It's okay. It's the whole song, okay? You assert your confidence and talent, expressing an insatiable hunger, okay? For making music. It's almost nobody else can reach that but you almost in yourself can't believe I'm about to attain this, right? And your ability to blend genres. You do that very well. Okay, you express loyalty to your roots, mentioning Decatur. Okay, we talked about just different, just overall knowing this area. Okay, and concluding with references to.
I can't let you glaze over that. R.I.P. Decatur. That's all.
I know.
Okay, all right.
I know. That's why. Yeah, it's not Atlanta.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Decatur.
That's why I said your roots mentioning, and then you conclude with references to love and desire, hinting at deeper emotional themes. Okay. So with that,
I want to touch on that too. Even though that's a good line.
It's it's the whole song. So I want to look at the whole song.
Yeah. I'm gonna touch on that. So again, R.I.P. to Decatur. Me and him didn't get cool towards the end of his life. We started working out at the same gym. And one day we just on the treadmill just talking, and he said it was like that scene from Step Brothers. Like, did we just become best friends? Did we just you want to go do karate in the garage? Yeah. So he's like, man, I thought you didn't like me. And I was like, I thought you didn't like me either. So then we just got super cool after that. And then he was always one that would tell me, man, don't stop, man, don't stop, no matter what, don't stop. Because I used to talk about the frustration of. Like I said, investing into this and investing into myself, doing my own promo, doing my own videos, and trying to, pay DJs to do this, that, and the third, and it never really just panning out. And he was like, man, I don't care what, don't stop. That's a recurring thing that every time we got together, that's what he would say to me. And again, he left us. So people who really had an impact on me, it's almost like they were, I guess, angels or supernatural beings that God strategically placed in my life to influence me in a way. And then once their mission was completed, I'm not saying that was his sole mission to, but what he said to me resonated with me. This is somebody I thought, once I get a vibe from people, and if I feel like, the energy ain't, I ain't gonna be disrespectful, but I'm just gonna stay away from it. And then we just so happened we started working out at the same gym. On the treadmill.
And aligned.
Yeah, and stuff that he was feeding me, was like, you know what? You're right, bro. All right. And I'd be like, man, I'm not doing this music no more. He's like, man, nah, man, you gotta keep going, man. Keep going. That's what he would always tell me. So that stuff.
You answered a question that I had on here. I didn't have to ask. Because I said you shout out Decatur. You know, and mentioned your... So you answered that question. And my last question on this song is, you say, we got it covered like plastic over your grandma's sofa. We used to be sweating on those sofa things. The imagery in your lyrics, we just talked about this, is vivid. How do you approach creating visuals and metaphors? You can go back to like grapefruit in your music to evoke emotion. We just talked about this and tell a deeper story.
I don't think I'm a metaphor rapper. Again, shout out to Brother Good Rich. He got the metaphor on top of metaphor. That's his line. I think I do evoke emotion with my music. I don't necessarily try to per se to do like the metaphor, but I always try to leave you with something. Out of anything that I put my voice on, I try to leave you with something that you can take and apply to life. So I try to make you feel something.
It's the last thing. Finally, we come to benediction. And we talked about this one because I said it's interesting that this was the last song on the album.
It was the first song I recorded.
Yes, and then you go to church, right? And the last thing you do, benediction, may the Lord watch between me and thee. All right. Yeah. So, we start as the BLAQ SHEEP. We end in the benediction. We talk about mercy in between, even though you say that your overall, really the album really should have been mercy, right? But we come to benediction. Your lyrics say, and this is true, not much of a talker. I put my heart in these lyrics. How do you feel your music allows you to communicate in ways that words alone cannot?
So a lot of times when you're communicating with people often listen with the intent to respond versus to hear what you actually saying. So if I'm talking to you through my music, you get my perspective and my perspective only, so you can hear me and hear how I feel, and maybe that'll resonate with you more than me trying to have a debate with you or a conversation with you where you just, you're really not listening to me. You just you can't wait for me to finish so you can respond or rebuttal. So now you can hear me, and you can't argue back with that.
Okay. You talk about manifesting real wishes. What are some of the next steps or dreams you're working towards in your music and your personal life?
Music. I can't speak on that yet. Okay. Personally, it's just growth. I got some stuff in the works, but I can't. Yeah, I can't. I don't want to cast pearls.
Top secret.
Yeah.
Okay.
Personally, I just want to continue to grow. Right now, I'm learning myself. Learning from mistakes and growing, and learning to control my emotions. Stuff that's been happening in my life recently. Not to be a crash out. It's a song by Eric Roberson. It's one of my favorite songs. In the hook, it says, "God has a funny way of showing you lessons." That's true. Even though it's an R&B song, God has a funny way of showing you lessons. I encourage anybody to go and listen to it. He's talking about relationships, but just that one line in itself, just talking about life and the things, all the series of events that I've been through in life up to this point. God has a funny way of showing you lessons, and that resonates with me. And I'm learning from those lessons, and just the mission is to continue to grow, continue to deliver quality art, get better. I want to be one of those artists that continue to get better. Like, you hear a lot of your favorite artists, they release new stuff. It's like, but it ain't jamming like it used to be. You know what I mean?
It's like watching a series.
It ain't necessarily like you got to have the hit record or the top 10 record, the number 1 record in the country, but it got to be consistently jamming. Like artists, I think about that. that consistently get better. I don't want to name no artists because a lot of people might disagree.
It's your
But this
perspective.
for instance, to me, he's never been a top mainstream artist, but to me, lyrically, Nas is my favorite rapper. In his last run he been on, he's just been consistent. You know, he got with that one producer, Hit Boy, and they just pumped out some dope music. And even at this point in his career, like all these years later, he's still pumping out dope music. To me, you know, that's one of my influences as far as rap goes. And I want to be in the same vein and just have time with music. It ain't necessarily about having the hit record or being on the radio, but just continuously to have time with music, whether you listen to it 10 years from now, 20 years from now, like, that's dope.
Well, we've gone through the entire album. Is there anything else that you want to share, or how would you sum up this album to the world?
I think you did a good job. I didn't know what you was gonna ask me. You did a jam up job. So shout out to South NT Studios for letting us film this here. Make sure y'all support their movement. They got the night sessions and all that going on. That's it, man. We're just gonna continue to rock out, and hopefully you'll see some more dope things coming within my life and my music and my legacy.
Tell everybody where they can.
It's BLAQ SHEEP. It's BLAQ. If you type in BLAQ SHEEP, there is a song, but it's a black male song featuring me called BLAQ SHEEP. But the album is BLAQ SHEEP on all streaming platforms, wherever you listen to your music. I encourage you. I try to not give you like these super long albums. It's a quick listen. I think your soul will be fed if you listen to it front to back. That's it.